We're going to take the North and never give it back.
So that's a good pick. You get the corner. I got to go bold, right? I got to go bold for this.
Yeah, she's got some nice.
Welcome back to the Unbearable Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Brad Barron. Make sure to like and subscribe if you're out there on YouTube. And always rate the show 5 stars everywhere that you get your podcast. What is going on? We're at a little earlier today, 6:30. Jess was like, you know what? Let's just get this show out of the way so that now we can just kind of recap and then move on. And like what Shydrax is saying out there in the comments, all 22 tomorrow. So if you're new to the show, on Mondays, we break down the all 22 live on YouTube. And it's just, we all watch it. It's all of our first looks. It will be interesting because we have the Bears losing 29-9. I had to double check because I'm like, was it really that bad? 29-9, we end up losing to the Arizona Cardinals. Not a pretty look for our Chicago Bears, but we're going to break it down like we always do. We'll talk about the summary. We'll talk about some of the inactives and also some of the players that were injured during that game. Break down the offense, the defense, everything that we need to know there. And then we'll put a little bow on top, but we'll keep you covered with everything that you need. So let's just start off with the summary. Right? How are we feeling out there? Normally I have the poll out there. What do you think of this game? But I'm pretty sure everybody feels the same. Everybody probably feels F, right? I think that none of us are happy about this game. None of us are happy about this outcome because it was so bad. And yeah, I remember I predicted the Bears were going to lose, but not in this fashion. And we said that, to me, this was not a must-win because we're flagging everything as must win. But the more important thing was, how is this team going to come out there and play? Because that is going to set the tone for how did the team handle that Hail Mary? And what we saw right there was an abysmal performance. We did not see the players doing well. We did not see the players wanting to even try out there. There was multiple times where I'm watching it with my family and everything, and someone says, hey, Why doesn't he throw it to his wide receivers when he's scrambling out? Or why don't they cut back in? Well, it's because they just gave up. The wide receivers gave up. And it wasn't even in the fourth quarter. People were giving up and it was difficult to watch. But Broski out there saying that it was the most fun win. What? He said Bears have the most difficult schedule in the entire league second half of the season. Oh yeah, must win. Never mind. Sorry, I thought that you said that it was a fun win. I don't know why I read it that way, but no, must win. It's right now, yeah, the rest, and good point, because we've said this on the show too. They have the most difficult end of the season schedule. So they go against the Patriots next week. Then after that, it's the entire NFC North, Seahawks, and then the 49ers as well. Very, very difficult slate of games. They're 4-4, but with all of this, the way that they came out and played, that is the thing that has me the most bummed, the most disappointed. And I feel like we're all disappointed with that too, because I was talking about this with Tyreek Stevenson, where I know some of you disagreed with me, where I didn't love the idea of benching Stevenson for the reason, right? If someone does something bad, they should be disciplined. But when your coach does not take accountability throughout the week, that is the thing that I felt made the optics terrible, because all the players were saying, hey, you know what? The players were saying, we thought it was bad coaching. Not that specific, but they were making specific judgments saying, hey, we should have called a timeout. We should have played up when they were going in Washington. They were saying certain things, questioning the coaching. And do you know what the coaching staff did? They went out there and the coaching staff basically said, we did nothing wrong. And then what did they proceed to do? Bench Tyreek for a little bit. Now, we'll get to that because Terrell Smith looked a lot better. If you want to look at something that's optimistic, Smith played very well from what we saw on first glance. But it was just that whole optic where now it's the players versus the coaches, and you need your players to be bought into the system. It was clear they were not. The offense didn't want to play. The defense without Montez Sweat looked terrible. Now, Montez Sweat has not been the same game record that he was last season. Do I think that if Montez Sweat was out here, we would have a different score and they wouldn't be putting up 29 points? No. The defense didn't play well. The offense didn't play well. Everybody didn't play well except for Cairo Santos. Everyone else, not good. And Jesse out there saying season is over. Yeah, draft pick out there with Shy Drax. It was bad. And that's the thing where the coaching staff has to say, how can we win them back? How can we get them back? Because I see Caleb disappointed on the sidelines. I see Caleb, absolutely distraught. And the thing too, I wanted to bring this up and let me know in the comments what y'all thought about this. Caleb, the difference between just being absolutely sick of what was going on and being like, you know what, the game's over, is at the very last two plays. Because first off, why do you have Caleb out there? I was all ready to say, hey, Tyson Bagent lost a game, right? Because he's always in there in victory formation. They keep Caleb out there. Caleb gets injured. And then at the end, after he gets sacked again, he just walks off. And I think that's going to be talked on with all the talking heads. Everyone's going to be looking into that. The dude's hurt. And I feel like if he was believing in everything that was going on and everything's good, he'd be back in the huddle. But when you have that crappy of a game where everyone doesn't want to be there, you see the wide receivers, they don't want to play. DJ looks like he's like, oh, why did I sign this deal, right? Why did I do this? And no one really wants to be out there. It was tough. It was tough. And now I'm not going to go out here with Caleb, like I see Jesse, you call him a bust. I'm not going that far with it because he is a rookie. And I agree with Shy Drax. He's a rookie. There's still a long way to go, right? We're in such an instant gratification world with everything. Like I guarantee you, if we went out to YouTube right now, there's probably people going live that has like Caleb bust and stuff like that, but he's not. He's not. It was a bad game. Everything around everything. Everybody was playing bad. Everybody was not looking good. But we'll talk about the offense. But yeah, it was just frustrating all the way around. That's the summary, is frustration. But let's talk a little bit about these inactives. And the inactives, let's talk about this. And yeah, I agree with Hybrider. Hated every single minute of this. And yeah, so let's see out here with the inactives. We have Kyler Gordon, Khalil Herbert, Karan Amagaji, Montez Sweat, Jaquan Brisker, Braxton Jones, and Byron Court. Now, the biggest thing with all of this is I thought interesting with Khalil Herbert, right? Because Khalil Herbert was one of those players that when he was not, we've seen him as an inactive, but yet again, he's actually a big trade target for a lot of teams. I see a lot of people from Dallas wanting him. Now, keep in mind, the 5th is the last day that they can be trading somebody away. But Khalil Herbert is a big key that could eventually be traded. But like we mentioned, Montez Sweat being out was another big issue because when he didn't have Montez Sweat, Kyler Gordon, Jaquan Brisker, the defense isn't fully healthy. Like I said before, Montez helps. We know this. We saw the Tez effect. But I think that just overall, they did not feel good with this. And yeah, it was a gross game on defense, but not even just the inactives. I have to pull up my phone for this because I jotted everything down. Jalen Jones, Darnell Wright, Andrew Billings, and Terrell Smith all out during this game, and Caleb Williams banged up at the end. That's something that is also hard to watch because Darnell Wright, if Darnell Wright's out and you have Braxton Jones that's week to week, you're already talking about an offense that's been struggling to start and your left tackle and right tackle both not being healthy enough to play. So unfortunate stuff that we see out there. And yeah, Broski out there saying offensive line, really that bad? They were looking bad. And yeah, just gross overall. But yeah, my whole thing is, and I see a lot of this stuff. Yeah, with Jesse saying too, Poles to blame for bringing Flus back. It's hard to, because it's also of course, last week, Ben Johnson. Now the reports that Ben Johnson wanted to go to the Bears, or there's reports, actual reports that Ben Johnson wanted to go to the Bears. And that was the reason why, that he kind of essentially was I'll just sit back a little bit. And now we see this, right? And Eberflus handled everything so poorly last week. And we saw what happens when you don't handle a bad situation and you let it explode like this. And this ultimately ends up going on this way. And let's talk about this offense, because this is the thing. I won't make excuses for that. I won't make excuses for this. Like, Caleb was just very inaccurate. It's what we've seen with a lot of these plays, especially downfield. And the thing that drives me bonkers, even when it's the all-22 review and we're doing that, the throws that aren't even close to the wide receivers, that are going out of bounds, that they don't even have a chance to make the play. And that is the thing that is really just frustrating. One of the many things that's frustrating when we're watching stuff like this, because this is someone who's just not even hitting the target. And he's not even throwing the ball on target to any of these things. So they can't open up the system deep because he's not hitting that. He's just flat out not hitting that. And there's certain spots too, like that sidearm. I want to see the tape, but it didn't look like he had to sidearm, and he didn't feel like he had to do these things. And yeah, so it's cool when he does that stuff and it works, but I felt like every single time that we saw him do that, it didn't work. And this is another week that we saw him throw more incompletions. And this is something where when we watch the tape, there's issues that he has with the system, or like there's system issues, but there last week, and also I guarantee you this week, even just first glance, a lot of this week, I feel we're going to say was on Caleb, because it was. It just, when you keep throwing incompletions and keep overthrowing your receivers and keep not even giving them a chance to make a play on the ball, that's bad. And I think that's why you see DJ like so frustrated, because the ball's not getting close to him. And you saw it on the slant route. The ball's high. The ball's away. It's not there. And this is where a good coach can bring them back together and make them not hate each other, make them not hate this situation. But is it too late? Is the way that they handled last week that bad? And yeah, and I agree with you, Jesse. Like, I definitely agree with you. Caleb needs the blame for this game from how he was thrown, right? I'm not going to call him a bust just because of the longevity, right? It takes a quarterback a long time to understand the position. But this game, if you watch this like and said like it's not Caleb, yeah, you're not watching the same. It's like it's that whole thing. Like, it definitely was Caleb that was throwing these incompletions. Because let's just look at these stats: 22 of 41. And a lot of those completions came in garbage time, unfortunately. A lot of those were just the dump offs to DeAndre Swift. And speaking of that, we also saw him miss like that little dump off to Roschon Johnson. And we also saw him take a bad sack. And the offensive line, right? The offensive line wasn't perfect. It wasn't perfect at all. But everything just seemed off. But Caleb still needs to hit his throws. He still needs to hit that stuff, because you look at this, Keenan Allen, 10 targets, 4 catches. And when we watch him, he looks slow. And his biggest thing is that he's a veteran and he can catch the ball, which he did not do to get the first down. And that first down could have led to a touchdown. It was at the end of the first half. And we all remember that drive that they were doing, and throws it right to Keenan Allen and failed. And yeah, I agree with Jesse too. Arizona doesn't have a good defense. We talked about this. It wasn't great. And we came away with this. Now, if we want to come away with one positive, Rome Odunze is good. And we've said this on the show too, where when you put on the tape, Rome Odunze can get open when asked to do so. Rome Odunze having his best game, 5 catches, 104 yards. Rome Odunze is a good player. He's a good wide receiver. He's someone that when you say you just got to get open, you got to go make a play, he can do that. And that's amazing. DJ looks frustrated. Keenan just looks old out there right now, right? Every time that he's made a play, made a catch, it's that timing with him and Caleb, not necessarily him beating his player or anything like that. And also when we're talking about just someone beating the player in front of them, we say this every week. The fade route is statistically the worst route you can run. And we ran it 2 times in a row in the red zone. And I wish we could just like put on, give Shane Waldron some truth serum and just be like, why did you run that? Why did you run that? Because I guarantee you, if he had truth serum, he would say something like, Well, we're just hoping for a pass interference. We're hoping that we can get a flag and something could happen with that. It just, yeah, it's frustrating. It's frustrating. Drink every time I say frustrating, right? But also, I got to say this. DeAndre Swift, even though he averaged 3.2 yards a carry, there is nothing bad I can say about him during this session. He was fighting out there till the last snap. He was consistently trying to do something. Consistently. And yeah, and here's the thing. He should have had a better game, but he was playing out there. We saw it at the end of the game where he's carrying people and he's going for those 13 yards and then no one else wants to do anything out there. He's at least fighting. And that is something that we didn't see the first couple weeks, and he's continuing to do that. Yeah, he didn't get 100 yards rushing or anything like that like he was doing the past 6 weeks or whatever it's been. But he's fighting out there. He really is. And I respect that. I really, really respect that. So, yeah. And Michael's saying full pessimist mode. Well, I'd say that the biggest thing too with this is that at least with it is, yeah, Jesse's saying done with this year. Yeah, but I think like with it, it's going to come down to Eberflus. And I like what Bears Bones is saying. Eberflus needs to show intensity and take control of his team. Why didn't they have Komet in the plan? Thank you, Bears Bones. Thank you. That is something that we've also seen. Coincidence that when Cole Komet doesn't have a good game, the offense doesn't have a good game? I don't think so. I don't think it's a coincidence because we've talked about this on this show. When Cole gets open, Cole's a very good tight end and a mismatch. And that's where when you can try and give him the ball, try and get him included. And that nothing, no targets, nothing. Like look at, for those on YouTube, you can see the stat sheet. He's not there. He's not there at all. And yeah, just the offense. I think if I just put it all together, right, and we just kind of bring it all in, it's the offensive line. First off, the offensive line, they kept getting fooled by that safety blitz. They got 2 sacks on them on that safety blitz, and ultimately they ended up getting 6 sacks. And Caleb threw for 217, but yet again, garbage time. Brought it back in, but it's a lot of the inaccuracies. And if it's with him and his wide receivers, then get it together. And the reason why I don't think it's on him, on the wide receiver, so to speak, because, right, people will say that. The reason why I don't think it's on the wide receivers as much is because the ball goes out of bounds. The ball's not there. The ball's uncatchable. And that's where it's an accuracy type of thing. So, yeah, it's an unfortunate thing. We at least have the Patriots next week. Hopefully we can get a win out of that. Let me at least just see, is that a home game? Because, okay, it's at least a home game. As we know, we win home games. Then it's Patriots and then Packers at home, in Soldier Field. We got to win those. We have to win that, guys, because if we lose to the Patriots, we know we're getting stomped by the Packers. And we know, should we even watch that game? We'll stream something else. I'll play Madden. So we don't have to watch the Bears play, right? If they lose to the Patriots, that's what we'll end up doing. So that we don't have to watch that abysmal performance. But overall, Caleb's accuracy just simply has to get better. The running game, yeah, you'd like to see more yards out of that. They knew what you were going to do. I'm curious to see how many people they had in the box, how many loaded boxes and fronts they were going against. But yeah, it wasn't pretty. And speaking of not being pretty, the defense without Montez Sweat. If Montez Sweat really makes this big of a difference where you go from a good defense, a very good defense to a terrible defense that lets up, let's just go through these stats. So 154 passing yards for Kyler Murray, but 213 rushing yards. That is the thing that stands out. And 5.9 yards for James Conner, 5.9 yards per carry for James Conner. DeMarcado, 14.8 yards a carry. Trey Benson, 4.6 yards a carry. And Kyler with 3, because he took a knee. So basically 6 yards per carry. It was bad. And yeah, like what Shy Jacks is saying, good point. Eberflus on the road, 0-18 on Sundays. Not a good stat to have. And only 3 wins total on the road? Not a good thing. Yeah. Yeah, Michael is saying if they lose Patriots, I won't be able to make it to the All-22 stream. Yeah. For all those everyone that's watched the All-22 stream, man, when we do those, the worst part is we start with the first quarter. Maybe we should actually, with this entire thing, it's going to be bad all the way around. Yeah, we'll have drinks all around. For those under 21, grab a soda, right? Grab a soda. something that can make you happy. And actually, best thing about today was my wife came home with vanilla shake, a burger, cheese curds, mozzarella sticks. Oh, at least the food was delicious. Like I definitely gained a pound, but the stress and anxiety of the Bears made it go, evaporated that stuff off. So that was the big thing that and ultimately ended up happening. But yeah, let's flip over to this defense, unfortunately. So this defense overall, not a good look. Nobody else was really getting tackles out there. Elijah Hicks is your leading tackler with 8, and Tyreek Stevenson, who did not play a lot, gets 7. It wasn't that great. Now, I will say Tyreek Stevenson breaking up 2 passes, that's good. But when we also saw Terrell Smith out there, Terrell Smith played well too. And I think it should be a competition. I think it really should be, because when Smith was out there, he almost had an interception. And Stevenson has been the person that has gotten picked on. So why not just have it as a competition? And they can play and they can do what they will, right? Light a fire underneath them. But yet again, this is something that I felt like I should have, we kind of saw the writing on the wall. This is Eberflus's defense. And if they don't believe in Eberflus, they don't believe in this defense. And they came out here, didn't play well. And they also had Dominique Robinson starting in place of, which I don't really get, in place of Montez Sweat. You have all these other defensive ends. Give them the reps, not the person that has been a healthy scratch. So curious choice. Maybe they liked him for the run stuffing, quote unquote, that we just typically don't really see. But to me, it's putting the other people, like Jacob Martin looked really good. Like, you don't need to put out Dominique Robinson. If Montez Sweat is out, keep Robinson out. Your other defensive ends are pretty darn good. So keep them out there. They're hungry. They want to play. So that is the thing that I didn't necessarily love, besides just constantly letting them run the ball on us. Yet again, we got to watch the tape. We got to run this back, because it didn't look good. It's even felt like they were trying to keep, Jack Sanborn out there a handful of times, and it wasn't pretty. Jack Sanborn, more tackles than Tremaine Edmonds had. He had 6 tackles. Tremaine Edmonds, only 5. But hey, Kevin Byard got a sack. Jacob Martin got a sack yet again. Jacob Martin, good. Chris Williams at least showing some of that progress. I don't know why I feel like Chris Williams is old. He's very athletic. He's a younger guy. But if we look at the other side, yeah, all the different sacks that they got from blitzes, and this isn't a good defensive line. They just decided to blitz. and they weren't complex. They didn't seem complex. It was just happening. And yeah, and the ball was being held on to a long time. I don't even have the stats up with this, but it felt like Caleb was holding on to the ball a long time too. And for those that I know listen but don't watch on YouTube or anything like that, and also the All-22 reviews are like 3 hours long, so you don't have to watch all those. But when we were watching Caleb Williams, a lot of what he was doing, a lot of the Caleb Williams stuff that we saw was similar to today, missing throws and also seeing somebody but kind of being like, maybe I could do something different. And I think right now, when he doesn't have that confidence and he feels like he has to do everything and it's not like, it doesn't feel good, yeah, he's going to struggle. And but it's the accuracy, you can't really not fault him for it. But let me pull up this time to throw. Time to throw, Caleb Williams, 3.3 seconds. That is a very, 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 very long time. And his intended air yards were 9.7, which is pretty far. So we're trying to throw it deep. But yet again, he's not been good at throwing it deep. And his completed air yards, his average completed air yards were 5.3 yards, which is pretty far. It's right middle of the pack. But yeah, it was gross. Let me see this other thing. Completed percentage above expected. Where is Caleb? I expect him not to be very good with everything. Caleb Williams, -5. That's actually not that bad. I expected much worse. I expected much worse from him, but yeah, that was gross. But let's talk to the special teams, and then we can kind of get this stuff done with and be good. So when we do special teams wasn't even good, because when we look at this, we had the first punt from mega punt from the Crocodile punter. We should have pinned him in the 10, and we should have coffin corner, do something. They brought it back out, and we punted it from midfield. So you expect it to be pinned, right? You expect it to be pinned. We didn't, right? The expectations are higher. You were a drafted punter. And then the next punt, it hardly made it past midfield, and we were punting it from the 25. Didn't feel very, very pretty. But then he had a boot. He had a 67-yarder, and then the next ones were pretty big. And then also the safety. After the safety, when they booted it straight up in the air, is a little weird. But the reason why, it's kind of their version of an onside kick. Drill it straight up in the air, and then if somebody ends up getting it, you're hoping that they just can't field the punt, because fielding a punt is really hard. So interesting, didn't work out, but I didn't hate that. I didn't really hate that, and ended up working out for the Bears, kind of. I mean, worked out for them, quote unquote. But really, this goes down to the player of the game, which is Cairo Santos, who hit all 3 of his field goals, 2 from 53, and I believe, I think the other one was a little shorter, but 2 53-yarders. Kudos to Cairo Santos. So let's go into our most valuable Bear. Let's talk about this. Who is your most valuable Bear? Let me know in the comments, because if we go through who should be nominated, I think it's 2 people, because it makes it very simple. There's Rome Odunze, and actually I'll even throw DeAndre Swift out there just because he played with a lot of heart, and I love that. But it's Rome or it's Cairo Santos. And actually, Bears Bones, Shy Drax, I don't want to give it to a kicker. Even though Santos, you did well. Rome, it was, if we want to take away something nice and positive, right? Because I know, Michael, out there, you're saying, what can we cling on to? Rome was good. Rome looked good out there. And the good part, I guess another good part, you could say, is right now, it's a coaching, it's a atmosphere, it's a chemistry issue. I think that we still have a lot of talent on this team. That's what's so frustrating about this loss. And that's why the players are frustrated, because they're like, hey, we actually have some good talent out here. This defense, we purchased all these really good players. This offense should be a lot better. What's going on? That's something that we have talent. And if this is bad, then Ben Johnson, here we come. Right? But Rome Odunze, you will be the MVP, the most valuable Bear. Keep doing what you're doing, averaging 20.8 yards a catch. Good stuff all around. But guys, everyone, thank you so much for listening. Even after a loss, y'all are the true fans out there. And if you could, make sure to just drop a little like, comment, whatever you'd like. Maybe it's just, hey, I hate my Bears. Or something like that. Actually, post something positive if you're out on YouTube, because then it'll be picked up. I think positive stuff, that's good for the algorithm. But also everyone out there in podcast land, thank you all so much. Rate 5 stars. And with that, Unbearable Sports Podcast, we are out.
Yeah, she's got some nice long hair, and you know that she's